from the end of 2023 up until, we'll say now, we lost about 3.5 free DAWs. And what do I mean by half? Well, we'll get to that in just a little bit, but let's get into what we've lost. And if you're a Windows user, you've actually gained another free DAW, and we'll look at that. Plus, I'll give you a couple of other free options that you should check out if you're in the market for a free digital audio workstation. Now, the first free DAW that's no more is SoundBridge. Now, I should say SoundBridge is still available. It's just no longer free. Now, what made this one an excellent free option is that it was completely unlocked. This was a full digital audio workstation that had no track limitations. You could bring your own plugins in there, and it's an easy DAW to work with. Plus, it also included the free Rhythmix drum machine plugin, and that is an excellent plugin. You can still get it from their website, but again, it's no longer free. There is a free version of SoundBridge. It has a 10-track limitation, but I think it's more intended for users of the previous free version to open up their existing projects so they can salvage them and maybe bring them over to other digital audio workstations if they decided not to continue on with the paid version of SoundBridge. Because it was a free DAW that had unlimited tracks and all of that stuff, a great user interface that wasn't cluttered, and there was a channel strip on every single track, which is really cool. But because of all of that stuff, it is a shame that we lost that free DAW because it was an excellent option. Again, it's still available, but it's no longer free. Now, the next free DAW that we lost in 2024 is Magic's Music Maker. And I think it was back in June where they announced that there was no longer going to be a free version of Magic's Music Maker. And with that, they also lowered the price of the premium version. So that's really cool if you wanted that. Now, there were some pretty severe limitations on Magic's Music Maker Free. You had an 8-track limitation. You couldn't bring in any third-party plugins unless you purchased them from the integrated store. It did include some plugins though, and some really nice instrument plugins were included in there. Now, what made Magic's Music Maker Free kind of special was that it was easy for newcomers to get started with music production and kind of feel their way around working with a digital audio workstation. It came with these free sound pools, and those are just like loop packs where all the loops within a sound pool, they all work together. It kind of forms a complete song if you put them together, but you can rearrange them. You can use them with other sound pools. I think you got 4 for free with it, which is really cool. And that was a great way for newcomers to just drag and drop stuff in, get a feel for how things work, maybe record a couple of tracks in there, work with MIDI, because it did include some excellent virtual instruments as well. So it is kind of a shame that Magic's Music Maker Free is no longer, but if you do like the idea of the sound pools and getting started with a fairly easy program, you can grab Magic's Music Maker Premium. I think it's around $50, and that actually really opens up the program with more sound pools, more options, more tracks, and a lot more features are included in that version. Now, let's look at the next free DAW or DAWs that we lost in 2024, and that's PreSonus Studio One Prime. And there's another one we'll look at in just a second, but Studio One Prime was the free version of Studio One, and it was available to everybody. All you had to do was download it. In recent years, all you had to do was download the demo of the Pro version, and you could install the Prime version. Now, they kind of hid it in there and they didn't really tell anybody about it. So you could see that they were trying to get rid of that free version, and finally they have. And it was a very powerful digital audio workstation. Basically, it was a completely unlocked Studio One. You had unlimited tracks and all that stuff. There was just one big limitation, and that was you couldn't bring in any third-party plugins, which wouldn't have been bad if they had have given you all of the essentials that you need to mix a song. And they kind of did include most, but it lacked a decent compressor. You got this compressor that was in the channel strip plugin, and it wasn't the greatest option for everyday mixing needs. So because you didn't have that decent compressor in Studio One Prime, it kind of made it not as usable compared to some other options that are out there. But still, it was a solid program. And Studio One still exists, but you have to get it in the Studio One Pro version. And I think they might call it something else in their subscription model. So you could check that out if you do want to. It is a great digital audio workstation. Now, the next kind of free one that they got rid of, this is the half one that I was talking about, and that's Studio One Artist. So this one wasn't free to everybody. You had to purchase a PreSonus audio interface or one of their MIDI controllers, and you got it free with that. And Studio One Artist is an incredible free digital audio workstation to be bundled in with a piece of hardware. And it was a big incentive to purchase a PreSonus audio interface or one of their MIDI controllers because there's a lot of options out there. Now, when you saw that it included a very, very capable free digital audio workstation, it was kind of like, yeah, I'm going to go with that one. Now, Studio One Artist is no longer a thing, so you don't get that. And I'm not sure what it means if you purchase a brand new, older audio interface that says on the box that you get Studio One Artist. Maybe you still get that old version of it. I'm not sure what that means for you. Maybe they give you a bit longer of a demo for their Pro version. Again, I'm not sure what it means for those older, but still brand new models of audio interfaces and MIDI controllers. But it is a shame to lose both Studio One Prime and Studio One Artist. Now, another free DAW that hasn't gone away yet, and it may not go away, I'm not sure. Their wording on the website is very open to interpretation, especially with what they originally said when they made the announcement. So that is Cakewalk by BandLab. Now, what they originally said on their website was that Cakewalk by BandLab will remain free until they release their two new DAWs, which are Cakewalk Sonar and Cakewalk Next, once they release those publicly. And they still haven't released those publicly yet. You can get them, but you have to get it through a BandLab membership, which to me isn't really public if you have to pay to be a member. So that's not available publicly. It seems like it's still maybe in an open beta within the membership group, and they're still working on it. I have a feeling that Cakewalk Sonar, at least, will be a licensable purchase eventually. And what their website says now about Cakewalk by BandLab is that Cakewalk by BandLab will remain free. It doesn't say will remain free forever. It doesn't say any sort of timeline. It just says will remain free. Does that mean it will remain free until the other ones are released publicly? I don't know. The fact that it's been free for several years now has just been incredible. So it will be a shame to lose this one if we do. And if it does stick around for free, then that's excellent too. It's worth checking out Cakewalk by BandLab. So in 2024, we've kind of seen how the industry is changing a bit. It's got to cost a lot of money to maintain these free digital audio workstations and also to provide the bandwidth on the websites so people could download them from there. So lots of money going out with these free digital audio workstations, and the user, you, gets to use them absolutely free, which is cool, but I can see why things are starting to change. Now, on the other hand, these free versions of the program were an excellent way to bring newcomers into music production and into their software. And then it's up to the company to change those free users into paid users. And if they do a good enough job with their software and marketing and all that stuff and provide great value to the customer, they're likely going to switch over to be a paid customer. Now, a couple of recommendations for programs that still remain free, and the first one is Traction Waveform Free. Now, what I like about this one is that it's not a limited program. You can have unlimited tracks in there. You can bring third-party plugins in there. It also comes with some excellent plugins, and there's a couple of instruments that are very usable in there as well. And Traction Waveform every year has been getting better and better and better. It's really growing in popularity, so it's a very nice free digital audio workstation to jump into. Now, another free DAW that I really recommend is Avid's Pro Tools Intro. Now, this one gives you the same core program and workflow that thousands of pro studios have used for years, and they've recorded hundreds or maybe thousands of hit songs and albums in there, plus scored movies and all kinds of stuff. this has been a really go-to piece of software for professionals. And it is a program that I really enjoy. Now, this free version, Pro Tools Intro, it has an 8 audio track and 8 instrument track limitation. So 16 tracks there. Now, this can be plenty to work with if you're using a drum plugin instead of recording drums in, because you're probably going to use at least 8 audio tracks just for drums, but you can put those on an instrument track if you're using a drum plugin. And then you have all 8 audio tracks for a couple of guitars, maybe 3 vocals, bass guitar, and some other instruments that you might want to throw in there, like percussive stuff, or maybe even more background vocals or effects, that sort of thing. And it even includes all of your essential plugins for mixing music. It's a great option if you're ever thinking about working in a pro studio one day. It is a good idea to learn how to use Pro Tools. Now, if you're a Windows user, you did gain a free DAW, and this free DAW that you gain is excellent, and that's Universal Audio's Luna. It's been available on Mac computers for several years now, so Windows users finally get to jump into the world of UA's Luna DAW. And what you get with this one is a completely unlimited digital audio workstation, so you can have unlimited tracks in there. You can bring your own third-party plugins in there, which is great because it doesn't really include any mixing plugins. You do get a really nice tape saturation plugin in there. It's called Oxide Tape. It does also include a really nice instrument that's called Shapes or Shape, something like that. It's a huge instrument that has tons of sounds in it, but you're definitely going to need to bring in other effects and, if you want, other instruments. I found that it's really easy to get started making music in Luna if you're mainly recording audio tracks. If you're somebody that works with MIDI quite a bit, it might not be for you yet until they add some more MIDI functionality into it. You can use MIDI in there, but it's not as intuitive as some other programs. Now you can check out the basics of using UA's Luna by clicking this video here. There's also a free course that I created for mixing in Luna, and you can access that underneath that video there. And if you liked this one, please give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Thank you so much for watching. For Audio Tech TV, I'm Zane. Keep creating. Fist bump. Thumbs up.